Welcome to Season to Shine. I'm your host, Melinda Robertson, and today I have Renee Le Clair, an author of Book of Dreams, and we will talk about her long journey to publishing and all about God's timing in it. I'm here with Renee Le Clair, authoress of Book of Dreams. Thank you for coming, Renee. So glad you're here. Yes. Thanks for being here. Okay, so how did you first have Book of Dreams set into your heart?
Well, I think the big thing is I've always been a writer. I've always loved to write. It's always been something that not just interests me, but it also helped me spend time, reflecting, and I just really love the aspect of being able to tell a good story. Mm-hmm. So when I started writing this book, it wasn't something that I was going to publish eventually someday. Okay. It was just something more personal. No, it was something that I just thought was just fun to do and, pass down to my kids or whatever. But then God turned it into a project that actually is near and dear to my heart now, and it was exciting to be able to watch it all come to fruition. So
wonderful. Yeah. And how long did it take, the whole process from when you first started writing to the publication of it?
Well, it was about a 13-year process. Like I said,
13 years.
I started when my kids were young, and being a mom, a parent, as you know, it's your kids and their activities and school and work and everything really kind of limits you on different things. So at different times I would sneak away into my office and write a few chapters here and there.
And that just kept you going that whole time? Just it was more of like a creative outlet?
Yes.
You would say?
Yes, I definitely would say that in the beginning, for sure.
So then how did it transition into becoming published? Because usually that kind of writing would just hang out on your laptop and, not have legs and take off.
Yeah, for sure. So basically I started writing this book, and then I would get these writing prompts for other books that I, would just be, wow, okay, this doesn't go with this particular book, but I could really start another one. So I had all these different, I think I had like 5 or 6 at one point that I had just kind of floating around. And I was able to watch an interview at one point a couple of years ago that had Thomas Nelson, a representative, on there, and they were speaking to Perry actually, and I thought, wow, well, maybe I can get a hold of someone at Thomas Nelson and ask them some questions about the different steps it would take to actually publish, a manuscript. So that's when I reached out, and we kind of emailed back and forth, and I got a phone call, and it's just all, history from there. I know.
That's amazing.
It was, definitely a God thing.
Yeah. Your Book of Dreams really became a dream come true, it sounds like.
Yes.
Yeah, so in all those years of writing and waiting, well, I guess you were writing for the outlet, but then the waiting with the publishing, what happened there with your spirit with the Lord and just the direction with that? Tell us about that. Was there anything that you felt during that time from Him?
Yeah, I felt a lot of go the distance, of perseverance. You really need to see this through. So many times we start projects in our life just to, put them onto the wayside, especially having kids. They come first. I was at a point in my life where I was able to follow through and complete this project, and in doing so, reading back over it, I see so much of my life ingrained in it, and others that are close to me that are also in there. And so going on through the whole process was an amazing process. Once I was offered the endorsement. I accepted. We did all of that, contractual things.
Right.
Then at that point, the hard work came in, because the book was only about halfway done at that point.
Oh, wow.
And the publisher says, you've got a month to finish it. And I'm like, wait a minute, whoa, hold on. And he goes, nope, you signed a contract. That's your first thing you need to do, is remember that you've got the foundation. You can finish this story, so I really want you to do that in a month. And of course, then I'm like, oh my gosh. So, you know, you figure out, okay, vacation times and all this stuff, because now it's really happening, right? And the Lord just was so gracious to me and swept in, and just not only gave me the time. It was literally 7 days. I finished the book in.
Wait, so the first half took 13 years and the last half took 7 days.
Exactly.
Oh my stars.
And so that's just literally, that just shows you how much God's hand was in my pen. You know, he knew what needed to be written, and he helped me write that. So in conclusion with that, it was literally the editing that was the nightmare. And I think any writer will tell you that. Editing is definitely
notorious for the process, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So do you think that then, like, I mean, you did it as your creative outlet.
Yes.
Do you think that the Lord always had this planned?
Yes, I do.
You put that dream in your heart?
I think so, yeah, because looking back in my life, I've always been able to, you know, sit down, tell a story. I journaled when I was younger, and I can look back at some of those journals now and see where I would have that, you know. And the book is about a young girl in the 1860s, who is very, very close with her dad, as I am with mine, and he gives her a journal to write in, and that becomes her book of dreams. My dad did that same thing to me when I was about 12. He got me a journal, and he said, this is, you know, write down your passions, things you want to do, things you like to do. It doesn't have to be about what you did that day. It could be about anything you want. And that's where, you know, the storytelling began. Yeah.
Excuse me. That's great. So you aren't like a trained, you aren't educated or trained in being
No. Creative writing, it was just something that actually literally came natural. And so I've audited a couple of classes. I have friends that have written books as well. Good friend Sandy Cathcart. She's good friends with the family. She's given me some pointers and some tips on some things. And literally just, you know.
That's fantastic.
Wing it.
Just, yeah. Bet you learned a lot through the process.
Oh boy, did I ever.
Yeah. Oh, for
But
sure.
it was valuable things.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
We're here with Renee Le Clair, author of Book of Dreams. So let's talk about the book, Renee. Let's hear what the storyline is.
Well, it's about, like I said, a young girl in the 1860s. Her father is an inventor of sorts, so he invents all kinds of things from farm equipment to a little more detailed things that you learn about, you know, farther along in the book. tragedy happens right out of the gate.
Yes, that took me by surprise when I read it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think the big thing for me is I really wanted to grab the reader's attention right off the bat. This is something that literally happened. Back in those times, we didn't have the luxuries that we have now. We didn't have vehicles. We had like roughing it kind of things. You know, the wagons, the horse-drawn wagons, and the covered wagons, all of the buckboards, all the different things, not comfortable at all. You had the outside elements against you, as well as the other wildlife. So, you know, it's really interesting to go through what they went through in your mind, as not just you're reading it, but as I was writing it.
Right.
So they get through this traumatic event, and Claire and McCord are the two main characters in the book. And of course, it's Claire that goes through this this tragedy, her and her family. So coming out through that on the other side, in actuality, McCord's family has a lot to do with that healing in that journey, not just for her, but her entire family. And moving forward in the book, it does go back and relive some of the things that not just she was dealing with during those different times, but also McCord and the things that he was dealing with. It talks about love, of course, even though it's a historical fiction, you do have to have a little bit of romance in it, but I have had men that have read it and they actually really like it.
Yeah.
It's not what you would normally think of.
No, it was really nice. It was enough to know, but it didn't get, a lot of books nowadays get into way too many details, especially for women of faith or young readers, like my teenage daughters, you know. You gotta watch that stuff, and
well, I didn't feel it was necessary.
It wasn't, no. It was sweet.
Yeah, very, very sweet, and a gentle love. And of course, grace, God's grace, his compassion, his love for his children. The book talks about forgiveness, perseverance as well, and a lot of different things. So their story literally comes full circle at the end. It is open-ended, and I've got fun things in the future to look forward to, but the book has a lot of little nuggets. Historical events, actual historical events are written in the book.
Nice.
So any historical buffs, check it out and let me know what you think.
So is it considered a historical fiction?
It is a historical
but not
fiction.
faith-based, or is it considered faith?
Yes, it is a faith-based. It's been nominated and won awards in both religious fiction, women's fiction, and historical fiction is where they class it the most.
Congratulations.
Well,
That's wonderful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's been a lot of fun throughout this whole process, and yeah.
So as a reader, what kind of conversations would you like for them to have after reading your novel?
I think what I would like them to really had grasped reading the book is really God's love for all of his children. Yes, these are not actual people in the book. However, God's love is something that everyone on the face of this planet should experience. So I think that them taking that away, as well as knowing that the forgiveness, the grace, and just the kindness that God has for his children, it's amazing thing. So to be able to read that and to actually feel that and to know that and discuss that with others, you know, I think it could be a good prompt.
That's great.
Yeah.
So I've often heard that writers take and pull from their own life experiences. So there are nuggets in there of your personal life, I'm guessing.
Oh, yes. Well, and I shared a little bit already
your
about
dad in the
my
journal.
Dad in the journal.
Yeah.
I do have, my great-grandfather was an inventor. sorts as well.
Super.
So we have that. And I think the big thing too is how I was raised. Growing up, I'm a country girl, so I was able to really put a lot of the different things that I learned being on the ranch, riding horses, and being out on my own. Sometimes it was you know, a very fun childhood to have. At the same time, the learning from those around me, the elders, the old school individuals that really knew how to do things, fabricate, adjust, modify. So a lot of that was brought into the book as well. And my love for history. I've always loved history, and yeah. So I hope my English teacher, high school English teacher, would be proud.
I'm sure. I'm certain.
Yeah. So, yeah.
That's great. So is there going to be a sequel to Book of Dreams?
Oh, yes. I've already started the
Have
sequel.
you?
I have, and it's been a little slow going. I think it's interesting how things work. You have this crescendo of build-up, you know, before, you know, and once you finish the book, and you're still writing that, you know, exhilaration a little bit.
Right.
And then you're like, oh, now what do I do? And so as to not lose momentum, you immediately start in another book. Well, I have 4 others on top of the sequel. So I'll sit down and write the sequel, and I'll be working on that. And then something else will come in my mind and be, oh, that'll be really good for this book. So I really have to focus a little better. And I have some, like I said, friends that are writers as well, and I don't write with an outline. And I'm thinking maybe I should.
This time around.
Maybe I should take a little bit of time to see where I really want it to go. And it doesn't have to stay on that path, but at least I'll have, you know, a little idea of where I want.
Well, I'm sure it's different, because the first time when you start writing, it was just that creative process and outlet and all that, and then it's transitioned and then being published. Which we didn't even talk about. I mean, I can't imagine, how did you feel when you found out you were being published?
Wow, I was excited. I was shocked, but at the same time, I'm like, all right, Lord, I don't want to mess this up.
Right.
I need you to help me through this, because, you know, this is, you gave me these words, you gave me this dream, you gave me all of this, you know, that I'm using. Please direct it so I don't mess it up. And he did. I'm looking back, I'm like, oh my gosh, you know, now I can go forward and go on to the second one, which is going to be really fun. It's exciting.
So like, do you feel like, because you have been published and writing a sequel, that you feel more pressure to try and meet certain standards, or are you saying that God kind of helped alleviate that, and now you could go in and just...
Yes, a lot of that stress and that pressure has been alleviated. And I think God just really, and you don't realize it while it's happening. You just know, oh wow, I've got this, you know, this writing, I'm just doing all this writing, and it's just great. And then you look back and you're reading it over and you're like, wow, you know, that's really remarkable. You see God's hand in it. You see Him working through the words, and it's really fun to see that. So with that being said, with the second book, I find myself having a lot more freedom in that artistic element of creative writing.
Sure. Do you feel like you are more dependent on Him too, though?
Oh, absolutely. Especially with the message. What message do you want to come out of this book? I know the characters that I want to use, because there's so many colorful characters in this book that any of them can be brought back, and are and will be brought back.
Nice.
But what story do you want them to tell this time? You know, where do you want them to go, and how do you want to facilitate this story? So it's definitely, you know, you get into prayer time before you write, and you're purposeful with the words. I was once told words are containers of power, right?
Absolutely.
So
yeah, they are.
They can either build you up or tear you down. So it's so important to make sure that what you write builds up. You know?
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
That's fantastic. Well, do you have a routine or anything that before, like praying, what's your process before you go to start writing?
I've tried to sit down and have this structured environment of this is what I'm going to do and how I'm going to do it. Just like you said, I'm going to get up in the morning. I'm going to, start with prayer. I'm going to make tea or coffee, whatever you feel like at that time. And you go sit down and then nothing. Nothing. So I think where God meets us most in unstructured environments, right? In the chaos, and so I could be driving down the road and all of a sudden this writing prompt will hit me and I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to pull over, and you got to get it down. It's never when you expect it. So you've got to be ready when it hits, and so be a lot flexible.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
And I guess too, unless it comes down to the editing process or further into the book when you have a deadline, with the stress of it, do you have a scripture or anything that you always go back to help keep you going?
There's so many different scriptures that you could go back to, and there's so many. I could say prompts and things that I could go back to, but I just like the good old-fashioned sit down, Lord, use me. Where do you want me to go? What do you want me to do from here? Just fill me up with what you need to be put, and that seems to work very well. Yeah,
that's surrender. That's where He wants us anyways, right?
Definitely, definitely.
Well, so for this being such a long journey to come to fruition, what would you say to other women that have dreams that God has given and are maybe just taking a little bit longer than what they would expect it to take?
I'd say persevere through, push through. Even if it's small steps, it's a step. And if it's something that you really feel God wants you to do, it's so important that you follow through. Take the extra time that God allows and move forward. Persevere and just continue on the path. It's so important, and there's a reason. There's a reason it's happening. You might not see it. And I didn't at first either. I just thought, oh, this is wonderful. It's something that I can pass down, or story. Yeah. But once people read it, and the feedback that I'm getting, it really touches lives, and it's just God's word, in a different format, right? Yeah. That He's brought through my pen, and I'm just super, super honored that He allowed me to do this for Him.
That He chose you.
Yeah.
That's so neat. So how are you praying over this next season as an author?
Oh, yes, definitely, especially in the world that we live in now. And this book was in the 1860s. By the time it was concluded, it was like 20 years later in the 1880s. So I'm looking at into that turn of the century and moving forward into that next era of America and the world that they lived back in there. So I have to be able to take some of what we're living with now and contribute that to the book as well. And so it does take a little bit, but the historical part of it is something that I always love. So,
yeah, super.
We got to know where we were so we know how to deal with where we are.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. What does it look like for you to continue shining for Christ through your writing?
Oh, wow. I think just encouraging others through writing, making sure that people know their worth. God says we're worthy, and we need to step up to that plate. We need to step up to where He wants us, not where we think we need to be. He sees us different. He views us.
Thank goodness He does.
And so because of Him, having that different view than what we do, it's important, pray that we see others through His eyes, feel their hurts through His heart, and be compassionate. and be gracious. And there's so many things that we can learn. So that's where I'm moving forward to in this next year and the next book. So
oh, that's fantastic. Well, tell us, Renee, like if someone's interested in getting a copy of your book, how do we find it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's on all media platforms, book platforms. So there's Amazon, Barnes & Noble, you can go BookBub, all of them that you can go on. Evangel did have them down in the mall here in the Rogue Valley, but you can, yeah, Amazon is probably the best one, or Barnes & Noble. Yeah.
Well, thank you.
You're
That's
welcome.
so great. Well, thanks for sharing your dreams with us. And
thank you for
we just
having
wish you
me.
the best success with your book.
Thank you.
Remember that every season has a purpose, and God's timing is perfect. Thanks for joining me today, and remember, this is your season to shine.